Wait a minute. You guys already saw this intro, didn't you? Whew. Okay. Thank God I caught that when I did, or else you guys would be accusing me of trying to pan for more runtime. Which is what I'm doing right now. Okay, I think I'm gonna shut up now. Before I start this video, I do want to say that if you haven't seen part 1, go watch it now. I'll put in the icon on the top right for you. I'll give you a second to go ahead and click it. So how was everyone's day? Okay, I'm assuming if you're still here, you've watched the first part. And if not, well, thank you for demonstrating free will. Now, let's pick up where we left off last time with the arrival of a new player, Sandstorm. Huh? What's that? I forgot something in part 1. Preposterous, that's impossible, I went over... Oh. Okay, I may or may not have forgotten to include the fact that canon was added before 2018. To be more specific, on October 17th, 2017, Sidra was added to the game, which brought about the canon. Now, I've used this joke before, and I have no problem using it again. The early stages of canon did not look like a canon. Instead, it was used more like a door ram. Luckily, BMG realized the mistake soon after the release of canon, and now they've changed it to be more... canon-y. Canon-y? Is that... that's not a word, is it? I'm still gonna use it. Okay. Hopefully that's the only thing I've forgotten in part 1. And if not, feel free to yell at me in the comments, because honestly, I deserve it at this point. Now, as I mentioned earlier, I left off the first part by saying that Sandstorm had started playing Brawlhalla. However, when Sandstorm picked up Brawlhalla in the early months of 2018, he was a nobody. In fact, it would still be many months before Sandstorm made his mark in the game at BCX of 2018. However, before we get to that, we need to talk about the significant change that happened to BMG around this time. In May of 2018, Bloominth Games announced that their company, along with their games, were being purchased by Ubisoft. Many Brawlhalla players attribute this change with the downfall of the game later on. The reason for this is that Ubisoft is notorious for having bad communication, bad handling of their games, etc. Despite this, the immediate impacts of Ubisoft acquiring BMG were actually positive. Thanks to Ubisoft being a multi-million-dollar company, BMG was able to afford larger prize pools for esports. In fact, the prize pool for that year totaled up to a whopping $300,000, which was way more than ever seen before. But the impacts from Ubisoft didn't stop there. On November 6th, 2018, Rayman was added to Brawlhalla, and according to this article I found on Brawlhalla News, here's how it came about. Hey Ubisoft, thank you so much for letting us join you. We really appreciate it. No problem, Pat. Actually, my name is Matt. So anyway, what was it you wanted to talk to me about? Oh, right. I had 2 questions for you. First of all, now that we're partnered, do we get Ubisoft games for free? No. And second, when are we gonna be able to bring this guy into the game? You know what, Pat? You're onto something. And so it was. Rayman was added to Brawlhalla. I wanted to say a joke here, but there is no joke, it's just pain and suffering. It was also around this time that we saw the first crossovers ever added to Brawlhalla, which were the Shovel Knight crossovers. Don't worry though, although they were the first, they were definitely not the last. They were definitely not the last. And then, in mid-November of 2018, BCX of 2018 happened. During this tournament, Addy Mestic and Cake won 2v2s, while in 1v1s, Sandstorm made his appearance.
That could be enough of the dodges there, and they're too afraid to take the risk to Axel.
So down that grab
Cake and Addy do it.
They are your 2v2 Brawlhalla World Champions!
Cake and Addy Mestic finally break the second place curse at Lance.
Red staying very low, trying to avoid the grab. Now the...
Will do it!
Sandstorm just did it! 3!
Sandstorm!
Oh!
Sandstorm!
I'm sure you're thinking right about now, man, I love this Sandstorm guy. I hope he wins again. We've now reached the end of 2018, and Scythe has already become the overplayed weapon that it is today. How do I know? Aw, look at this. It's a graphic that BMG makes at the end of every year to track Brawlhalla's progress. You see this? Majority of the Scythe Legends, 4 to 6% play rate. And hey, Surprise, surprise, at the 1 to 2% play rate range, there were 0 Scythe Legends. Now guys, I'm no mathematician, but I'm pretty sure that 3 is more than 0. I also happen to know that 6 times 3 is equal to 18, which means that up to 18% of all legends picked in 2018 were these 3 goons. Like, that's just ridiculous. Okay, we're now in 2019. What's the next big thing for the Brawl community? Nothing. Yep, that's right. For the first half of 2019, nothing really happens. I mean, sure, there were some new crossovers being added, and yeah, Sandstorm was probably out there asserting his dominance some more, but when it comes to new and exciting stuff, there wasn't much. Finally, on June 26, 2019, the Dragon Ball Z crossovers were I'm sorry, I misspoke. Petra was added to Brawlhalla, along with the new weapon, which was Orb. And then once again, nothing happened for a while. I don't know what it was, but 2019 seemed to be the dry year for Brawlhalla. Anyways, the next major event was BCX of 2019. There, we saw Sandstorm solidify his dominance in 1v1s, and in 2v2s, Sandstorm and Boomy became the power team of the century.
That is it! Sandstorm is the world champion! He skipped being the 2-time and has become the 3-time world champion.
Oh, he ran out of ground there. Sandstorm looking to finish it. This could be it. Ladies and gentlemen, this could be it. ISO desperately trying to keep it alive. And that is it. Boomy and Sandstorm are your 2019 2v2 world champions.
And with that, we're in 2020. And when you hear the year 2020, you know exactly what happens next. That's right, folks. COVID-19, isolation, and lockdowns. What a year to be alive. However, for the gaming industry, the lockdowns were actually a big win, and Brawlhalla was no exception. It was during the pandemic that Brawlhalla saw its highest numbers ever, even to this day. BMG capitalized off the influx of players by adding something that everyone loves: a battle pass.
That kind of looks like the battle pass.
Yeah, I was gonna say that looks like the battle pass.
That look like the battle pass.
That's what I'm saying.
Google, show me this guy's balls.
That's right, on May 20th of 2020, Brawlhalla joined the bandwagon and added a battle pass. And although adding something that originally came from Fortnite isn't exactly the best look for a fighting game, it was a good addition to Brawlhalla. Now, I want to take a quick pause. Throughout the entirety of Part 1, and all the way up until now in Part 2, I've only talked about Brawlhalla increasing in size and in popularity. And believe me, I'm not being biased with that information. It truly has just been nothing but non-stop growth up until now. So the question is, what was the catalyst for the end of this growth? Well, it's all thanks to the introduction of a single weapon: Greatsword. On July 8th, 2020, the new legend Jaeun was released to the public. And it was on that fateful day that Greatsword began to terrorize the entirety of Brawlhalla. This was the first time in Brawlhalla history that a weapon was truly and undeniably broken. And for months, BMG refused to do anything, all the way up until BCX of 2020. Now usually, this is where I tell you who won in both 1v1s and 2v2s and then play some clips. However, I'm not going to do that this time. Instead, I'm going to share with you the only piece of relevant information for BCX of 2020. Greatsword was everywhere. Pretty much every single player that made it to the top 8 was using Greatsword. Shortly after the conclusion of BCX, Greatsword was nerfed into the ground, and it stayed there ever since. Even though the Greatsword problem was fixed, it's in my belief that this was the beginning of the end. Sorry, I just want to make it sound dramatic for a second. You see, something I've failed to mention thus far are Metadev skins. What are Metadev skins, you might ask? Well, I made a video about that a while ago, so past me, why don't you tell them about what Metadev skins are? However, before I start down the yellow brick road, maybe I should explain to those that don't know what Metadev skins are. Now, you might be wondering what a Metadev is. Well, it's quite simple. You see, the creative process behind the name is, if you go to a convention or event and you meet a developer, they'll give you a card for one of the few Metadev skins, and you can get the code and boom, you got the skin. Hence the name Metadev. Shout out to past me for explaining that so present me doesn't have to do it instead. Now, the problem in 2020 was, well, all the events are online, so how are you supposed to meet a dev and get the Metadev skins? Simple, BMG thought to themselves, we'll just make them Twitch rewards. So, not only did BMG contradict the name and concept of the skins, but they also completely voided any rarity that the skins had. However, as far as Brawlhalla's problems go, this was only the tip of the iceberg. As the year rolled into 2021, something started to become more and more obvious to the Brawlhalla community. The truth was, BMG started to care more about money rather than how the game itself was actually doing. As time progressed, more and more crossovers were being added to the game. Although everyone loved the crossovers, something became very apparent. More crossovers meant less of everything else. Mainly, this meant less legends, less new features, and less balance patches. That leads me into another point, BMG's lack of communication. There were more and more problems arising when it came to balance, and yet, nothing was being done about it on BMG's part, even though the community was being very vocal. These problems began to stir more and more leading up to BCX of 2021. Now, something I didn't mention while talking about BCX of 2020 is that because everything was online, everything was divided into regions. The same thing goes for BCX of 2021, which is why I will not be going over all the winners because that'll just take too long. The one winner I will mention, however, is the North American 1v1 winner, which was Cody Travis, not Sandstorm. And with that, we moved into the current year of 2022. Surely after such an eventful year in 2021, we had a bit of a calm period in 20... Are you kidding me? That's right. All the problems I was mentioning earlier finally started to take their toll in the form of losing our best Brawlhalla players. And if it seemed in 2021 that BMG was taking a step into the dark side, well in 2022, they took the full leap. The communication problem between BMG and their community went exponentially worse in 2022. This was made especially clear by the heavy weapon meta, which was basically when the meta was only heavy weapons. There were also many features that the Brawlhalla community knew needed to be added to the game, but BMG simply didn't care to add them. Instead, they added more crossovers. And then, in the summer of 2022, Multiversus was released. Multiversus was the first true competition for Brawlhalla, not including Smash. And with all of the problems and all of the drama that Brawlhalla had at that time, Multiversus was looking to take most of Brawlhalla's player base. Honestly, the death of Brawlhalla seemed almost inevitable when pro players such as Sandstorm, Boomy, Koslix, and Pavelski all left to go to Multiversus. And all the while, what did BMG do in response to Multiversus? Nothing, really. It seemed like they were just gonna let this happen. Is this really it? Is this where the story of Brawlhalla ends? In death and disgrace? Well, maybe not. Very recently, BMG has finally taken their head out of the sand and started to make good changes. Features that the community have been asking for years were finally added, such as a new rank, placement matches, training mode and queues, and more. Due to these changes, pro players such as Boomy and Pavelski have already come back to the game and started making content on it once again. Plus, Multiversus numbers have decreased dramatically since their release. And that is where we stand today. Will Blue Mammoth Games continue to make good updates, or will they fall into old habits? I guess we'll have to wait and see. But that, ladies and gentlemen, has been the story of Brawlhalla. Hey everyone, just wanted to give a quick message before the video is over. And that is, of course, thank you so much for 1,000 subscribers. I mean, we're already at 1.25 thousand subscribers, but this is supposed to be the 1K special, so thank you for 1,000, and thank you for the continuous growth. It's been insane recently. It's just thank you so much. I mean, it was less than a year ago, almost a year ago. It was October 13th that I uploaded my first Brawlhalla video, but before then, I was making commentary videos on, like, some random topics pertaining to gaming. I was getting no views, really. I had 60-something subscribers. You know, I didn't really think that I was gonna get anywhere. I can't fathom that I'd be here right now. If you didn't know, my goals for 2022, when I started this year on January 1st, they were to get 500 subscribers get 1,000 watch hours and to get a video that had 1,000 views. And now we have 1.25 thousand subscribers. We have over 4,000 watch hours, and I'm already monetized, which is just mind-blowing. And I have 2 videos that have 10k views. So that is just incredible. And I cannot thank you guys enough for sticking with me. You know, sometimes I don't upload a little bit, I get off schedule, and trust me, I'm trying to stay on the schedule, and I really will try my best to stick to it, but I am kind of the master procrastinator, so it's kind of my problem, but I promise I'm going to be working on that to fix it, and to continue to get videos out every week on Saturday. So, just thank you guys again for everything you've done for me. It does mean the world to me, and I hope we continue to grow and see where this whole thing takes me. Anyways, that's the end of the video. Hope you guys enjoyed. Make sure to like and subscribe if you did. Anyways, I'm out of here.